Imagine this. You're sitting at dinner, your heart's pounding, your partner says, "Hey, I was thinking, what if we opened up our relationship?" Now imagine the rush of emotions that hit you. You freeze, confusion, anger, fear, maybe even a little excitement. But deep down, you know the truth. You're scared. You don't want to lose them. You don't want them thinking you're insecure, so you smile and say, "Oh, yeah, let's give it a try." But here's the thing. Were you really okay with it? Or did you just agree because you were terrified of being alone? This is the truth that nobody talks about. We tell ourselves it's about freedom, but sometimes, just sometimes, it's about fear in disguise. I will say this 100 million times over, fear and love don't mix. And a lot of times when fears enters the equation, love goes out the window. It becomes more of an egoic thing, whether you're trying to save your ego or whether you're trying to control an outcome or whether you're trying to avoid pain. But either way, if you act in ways that are not you, then you're not loving yourself and the results are usually disastrous. That's not to say that this doesn't work and that there aren't couples out there that absolutely love it. The real question becomes, are you doing this because of fear, or are you doing this because if they wanted monogamy, would you still choose polyamory? That's the question. And there's the difference. For some people, it does work. Mostly it doesn't, but for some it does. Let's talk about it. Open relationships are everywhere these days. It's the cool thing to talk about, right? You got celebrities, influencers, and even your friends casually discussing how they're not monogamous. The message is clear. Freedom is the new goal. Well, what's really happening when couples open up their relationships? What drives them to make such bold choices? Let's start by laying down the facts, shall we? Studies show that 4 to 5% of people are in open relationships, and most of them are under the age of 40. Non monogamy is rising. But here's the kicker. A lot of people are agreeing to it because they fear losing their partner, not because they truly want an open relationship. The truth is, for some, open relationships are the ultimate form of freedom. But for many, they're a trap, a way to avoid facing insecurities and fear of rejection. So let's talk about fear for a moment. You're in a committed relationship, you love this person, but let's be honest, sometimes they start pulling away. The fear creeps in. What if they find someone else? What if they leave me for someone more attractive, more fun, more open minded? So when they suggest an open relationship, it feels like the lesser evil. You don't want to lose them. You'll do whatever it takes to keep them happy. But here's the thing. You're not really choosing freedom if that's your reason for doing it. You're choosing to hide behind an illusion. You're agreeing to something because you're afraid. Afraid that if you say no, they might leave you. And here's the kicker. Some of the most insecure people in open relationships are those who really don't want it. They're just too scared to lose their partner. Think about it. How many women out there agree to an open relationship out of fear of abandonment? They don't want to be the clingy one or the insecure one, so they go along with it. But deep inside, there's a war going on in their hearts. They feel betrayed, and even though they haven't been, they just don't know how to express it. So let's talk numbers. Studies on open relationships show that nearly 40% fail within their first year. Why? Because people think open relationships are all about being laid back. But the truth, they often come with hidden emotional costs. It starts with jealousy. Oh, you're seeing other people. That's fine. But as things get more complicated, the feelings of betrayal can creep in, especially if you've never addressed why you agreed to it in the first place. Jealousy, insecurity, confusion, these feelings just don't go away. They compound. And if we're being real, most open relationships have no clear boundaries or communication structures in place. People think it's easy because it feels like freedom, but it can quickly turn into an emotional minefield. You've heard it all. Open relationships are the true definition of freedom, right? But let's be real here. If you're in a relationship where you feel emotionally unsafe, where you constantly worry about your partner's connections with others, you're not free. You're just wearing a mask of freedom to cover up fear. True freedom comes from knowing you're secure in who you are and trusting your partner, not in constantly trying to win their approval or keep them happy by agreeing to things that you're uncomfortable with. If you're in an open relationship out of fear of abandonment or to prove you're cool with it, you're technically only putting a band-aid on. Deeper emotional wounds are at, at play here. That's not freedom. That's just fear with a different name. Now let's hit pause for a second. What if the real truth is we're afraid to commit? Not to one person, but to ourselves. Because let's face it, true love isn't about having options. It's about being vulnerable with the one person and feeling secure enough to be your authentic self without fearing rejection. The most powerful relationships are built on trust, communication, and vulnerability. If you can't be vulnerable with your partner, you're not really building anything that will last. So here's what I want to hear from you. Whole time, let's drop a comment below. 1, yes, open relationships work for me. 2, no, I prefer exclusivity. 3, I've tried it, but it ended badly. 4, I've tried it and it worked better than I thought. What do you think? Is open love freedom, or is it just a way of masking deeper insecurities? Look, at the end of the day, the question is not whether open relationships work or not. It's about why you're doing it. Are you doing it because you genuinely believe it's the best way to love? Or are you doing it because you're afraid of what happens if you don't? True love isn't about having multiple options. It's about one person, one commitment, and the ability to be vulnerable in ways that make you both feel safe and seen. Until we're secure in ourselves, no relationship, open or closed, will ever bring the peace we're truly searching for. So here's where we get real. I'm not knocking open relationships, and I'm definitely not here to tell you what to do with your love life. But let's get one thing straight. The right motivation makes all the difference. If you're opening up your relationship because you truly feel it's the right choice, because you've done the emotional work, and you're coming from a place of love and authentic freedom, then go for it. But if you're doing it because you're scared of being alone, or worse, if you're doing it to hold on to someone, then maybe it's time to take a step back and ask yourself, what are you really afraid of? Look, in the end, love is about trust, vulnerability, and commitment, not just to someone else, but to yourself. So before you open your relationship, Open your heart. Make sure you're not running from your own insecurities. Because if you are, it'll never be about love. It'll be about fear wearing a mask. Now, I want to know what you think. Drop a comment below. Is an open relationship truly freedom, or is it just a way of covering up fear? Let's talk about it. Let's keep this conversation real. Because real love isn't about having options, it's about having the courage to choose one person and give them your heart. And as always, take care of you first, because when you do, the right kind of love will follow. And hey, if this episode spoke to you, I'll see you in the next one, where we'll continue to dig into the truths of love, relationships, and making sure you're living your most authentic life. Until then, take care of you first, because when you do, the right kind of love will follow.